perfect day. Or was it? Huh? Welcome to my chinwag number 11, another one of these musings when I'm trying to communicate something to those of you who might be interested. And I'm trying to use the means of the 21st century, and please forgive the fact that I'm a bit of an IT Luddite. Thursday last, the 21st of March 2024, was another exceptionally extraordinary day for me. Early at 7 a.m, having had a short walk and some breakfast, Nala, my beloved Labrador, and I set off in my trusted steed of steel, a red version of the best of British and Indian engineering, on a 3-hour drive to Overstrand near Cromer in Norfolk. Once there, my dear friend Miranda joined us for the short drive to the Church of St. Martin for the funeral of our recently deceased friend, Susan Mary Unwin, known to most of the congregation present simply as Sue, for she would have shunned too much formality in her own unique, alternate way. A Saucerful of Secrets by Pink Floyd provided the entrance music to the service, which was conducted by Father David Maudlin. Following the collect, we reflected to La Reina by Ennio Morricone. Then followed 2 tributes. One from Sue's cousin on her maternal side, Alison Hoddle, who told us the happy story of the meeting of these cousins, which only happened when they were both 50. And she described the inevitable sadness of Sue never, since she'd been given away as a baby, having ever met her birth mother. In fact, after many years of ceaseless effort, Sue's mother had been located, and Sue wrote her a letter, but social services did not manage to deliver the letter till 3 days after her mother's death. The second tribute was by Di McKenna, a childhood friend from Cambridge. Sue had been fostered and adopted by the chief constable of that city. Sue remained connected with Cambridge all of her life, having been educated there and having ended her working life of many years at the university. Many will have fond memories of Sue rollerblading through the streets early in the mornings. Now it was time to hear from dear Lawrence Stagg, Sue's life partner of more than the last quarter of a century. Miranda was standing by to take over should Lawrence find himself unable to continue, but despite being overcome on a few occasions, he managed to deliver a most moving and thoughtful elegy to his beloved Sue. Lawrence revealed the secret that after all these years living together, Sue and he had been due to be married at last on March the 11th of this year, before her untimely departure from this stage of fools. He described their lives together and talked about Sue's house in Gozo, which she co-owned with Colin Marr, to whom she had been married for some 16 years before Lawrence came into her life. Happy times. Except, of course, for the final year or two of Sue's life when Lawrence lovingly cared for her through her terminal illness, including a cancer learned of only through her post-mortem. Lawrence ended his moving tribute by revealing 10 things that very few people would have known about dear Sue, including her friendship in London with people like Syd Barrett. Now we understood why we had heard Pink Floyd earlier and the Saucerful of Secrets. I realized that I'd known both of them together for the entirety of their togetherness, while they lived in Lydgate, then Pinmill, then Western Colville, Honington, and finally Overstrand. I have known Lawrence since his days with Stephen Burkoff's company, his stint at the Arts Council, his teaching of filmmaking, and through his writings. And I had a special secret bond of my own with Sue, whom I had met once during the 1960s in London's nightlife when she was known as Honey, and when one evening in Suffolk, after several glasses of wine, while I was telling her about my late mother, she confided in me about her never having met her own mother, although she was still alive. I have kept her confidence and have never mentioned it before. Not even to Lawrence, I don't think. A pause for reflection followed while we listened to Perfect Day by Lou Reed. Remember the words? Here they are. Just a perfect day. Drink sangria in the park, and then later when it gets dark, we go home. Just a perfect day. Feed animals in the zoo, then later a movie too, and then home. Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Oh, such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. You just keep me hanging on. Just a perfect day. Problems all left alone. Weekenders on our own. It's such fun. Just a perfect day. You made me forget myself. I thought I was someone else, someone good. Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Oh, such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. You just keep me hanging on. You're going to reap just what you sow. 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 Numb and feeling as if I was not really there at all, I went up to the lectern and read Nightingale by Leonard Cohen. I mean, I was just a conduit, allowing the words to speak for themselves through my physical larynx, my voice, I suppose. And you know, I can't remember anything about it now. Then followed the Christian part of the service, with the many incantations and prayers, including the Lord's Prayer. And as the colourful wicker coffin was borne out of the church, we heard Pink Floyd's "Shine On, You Crazy Diamond." The 35 or so of us followed the coffin, along with Millie, Sue and Lawrence's old English sheepdog. We followed the coffin to the graveyard, and after the final prayers, it was lowered into the open grave, and some of us threw some soil in a symbolic act of final farewell to dear Sue. back to the Overstrand Cricket Pavilion, where Miranda and Lawrence had organised the eats, and the free bar was open. I ate a bit, but drank only water, I'm glad to say, in view of the drive home later. A doggy bag was taken to Nala, still in the car. After feeding my darling doggy, and despite my physical restrictions, disabilities and infirmities, we staggered through to the beach so Nala could have a frolic and get some exercise. She loved the sea. And when we got back, I was glad that I had brought some towels and her drying coat. Some more time spent with Lawrence. And later, as it was about to start raining, we embarked on our long journey south. The intention had been to go to St. Catherine's College in Cambridge to hear the wonderful Dr. Nina Ansari make her presentation about women in Afghanistan, a subject about which I know very little, because I support women, life, freedom. The slow and heavy traffic, however, meant that this was not to be, and we came straight home to our little cottage, only to be greeted with another shock. As I had parked and got out of the car, bursting to go to the toilet, a police truck with sirens sounding and blue lights flashing screeched up to a halt, and two policewomen got out and ordered me to stand away from the road. One inspected my car and even peered into the interior, while I was subjected to a long interrogation while we were waiting for backup to arrive about where I'd been, what I'd been eating, drinking or ingesting. Not allowed to smoke a cigarette or even to relieve myself. Well, naturally, I answered all the questions truthfully, fully and courteously, and I was informed that someone, they couldn't tell me who, had complained that I'd been swerving a little in my driving. I wonder if I was avoiding the potholes near here, which is perfectly possible. But apparently they thought I might be endangering human life. Finally, the backup van arrived. After more questions, I was warned I might have to be arrested unless I agreed to a breath test straight away. And you know what? Unsurprisingly, the test produced a reading of 0. All 4 of the police thanked me for my patience while they were executing their duties, and finally sped off elsewhere. By the time I raced to let myself inside and get to the bathroom, I had soiled myself, and what a day, with a not too perfect ending. It has taken both Nala and I a couple of days to recover from the shock. I mean, the police have a job to do. But like everyone in authority these days, they seem to have to start with the assumption that one may be lying or hiding something. Still, all's well that ends well, as Sweetwill reminds us. And Nala and I are well, back home, and happy to be together in our little oasis. Thank you for listening to our tale, and I hope some of it has meant something to you. Bye.